Welcome to Raw Take, everyone, the Lifeline Filter Media Experience. Before we start the show, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're on Facebook, like, comment, and share. I'm your host, Gian Thomas. This is my co-host, Archie, and this is the Monday live stream. And we have special guest, Liz Townsend, Ambassador Captain for Congressional District 10 for Powered by the People. And today she'll be talking about her testimony in Austin on voter suppression, the importance of getting young people out to vote, voter suppression, and what are the steps to counter it. How you doing, Liz?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
We're doing awesome. So before we get into the show, tell people about yourself, Liz.
Well, of course, my name's Liz Townsend, and I am the Powered by People Ambassador Captain for Congressional District 10. And what I do is I host events to register the 3 million people who are unregistered in the state of Texas. Yeah, 3 million people. It's kind of a big number to shoot for, but we're working on it. And I'm very active locally with the Democratic Party and kind of lean towards progressive politics. And I've been in Katy since 2004. So yeah, so I kind of know my neighborhood. I've knocked on every door before, so that's kind of a little bit about myself.
And that's awesome, Liz. You know, here on the show, we talk about people being active in their community, being that change that they want to see. And we love how you took it upon yourself. You said you want to see change. You wanted to see, more faces like yourself being involved in the political process, and you carved out your power. And we always talk about that on here. People taking control of their power. People saying, "Hey, I'm gonna do more in the community." And so we love that when just ordinary people who don't have like a fancy title behind them, who just say, "Hey, I'm gonna take it upon myself to make some change." So we love that, Liz. So tell us about your testimony in Austin. I think you waited, I think it was 23 hours?
Yeah, well, the first time was it was about 12 hours.
Okay.
It was like just about midnight when I finally got to testify before Senate. And then it was about dawn when I was able to testify in front of the House committee.
Wow.
So I testified for both, for both houses. And yeah, I didn't walk out of there till maybe about 7 o'clock in the morning. Wow. They were just starting to open up. It was very surreal, just kind of wandering around in the middle of the night at 2 o'clock in the morning in the Capitol building. It's kind of fun. It was an experience.
Yes. So so go a little bit more into that. Tell us about what you testified on and what your testimony was.
Yeah, because I watched it and it was pretty touchy.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, I wanted to address my mom's been a lifelong Republican, and what that bill was doing was disenfranchising a good portion of their own constituents. And it's like they're just doing it regardless of whatever. They don't give a damn what's happening. And and if it wasn't for the curbside voting, I know for a lot of other people, it wasn't for drive-through voting, if it wasn't for somebody being able to assist them and be their eyes and ears, they wouldn't have been able to vote in the last election. And that's why we had such huge numbers. I mean, record numbers of not just Democrats voting, but Republicans as well. And we've already declared that democracy in voting and having a secret ballot and a free, clear, secure election is a human right. That was declared back in 1948. And here we are in 2021. And here we're trying to limit that ability and not to allow people to have equal suffrage or equal access to it. Whereas every other country, every other state it's not an issue, but for us, for some reason, it is.
Yeah.
And you got to ask yourself, why would they do that to their own constituents? Do they not care about the next election, or do they just not want anyone to vote? Or are they that secure in their power?
Yeah.
And then that means, if they're that secure, then we don't have the power. Then we're the ones losing it, and we need to fight for that. And the one way we can do that is try to get people to actually give a damn about voting again. And that's through education, having events, hosting events that create enthusiasm in the community, and registering, like I said, the 3 million people that are unregistered in the state of Texas. I mean, there is about 7 million who are registered, but they did not vote in the last election. So can you imagine what the landscape of Texas would look like right now? Especially, we would not be dealing with this legislation. We wouldn't be dealing with this at all. We would be able to register online. Hell, we might be able to vote online if we actually cared. But voter suppression is something so deeply rooted in Texas. It goes back to the foundation of it.
Yeah.
And the reason why we became a state, and we've always been a Confederate state. Jim Crow has always been very, very strong.
Yes.
And we're still battling that. We're still fighting that. And I feel like the pushback that we're experiencing right now, I think that a lot more people are giving a damn. A lot more people are waking up every day. We see the news as something new. Somehow our leaders have failed us in one way or another because of our negligence to not care enough and our apathy. So I think we're starting to organize more and give more of a damn.
Yeah.
So I think I have a really positive feeling about the future, because I think we're going to be leaning in a little bit more of a progressive motion. And what I see from the Republican Party or the right is it's like the death throes of a dying ideology. Does that make sense? It's like a dying animal, and they're more dangerous when they're dying.
Yes.
So that's kind of how I see it at this point. And to me, this is a human rights issue. This is something that should not even be argued at this point. And I mean, I feel really bad for all the people who are now, because of the passage of this legislation. I feel really bad that they've been further disenfranchised, especially the disabled veterans, the elderly.
Yeah.
And how, like, people who work at night, or people working during the all day long, they don't have any other chance but at night to go and vote. It's unnecessary, because if you were that confident in your views and your standpoints, then you wouldn't need to clamp down and try to restrict people's access to voting.
Yeah, and limit the voting.
They are doing. Yeah.
That's an interesting perspective to come from, saying that, if they were that confident in the power that they have, then why try to suppress the vote? So that shows that it's a possibility that confidence is lacking in the power that they have, because like you said, why else try to suppress the vote? That's just a really good point to bring up.
Yeah, like it feels kind of like we have a King Abbott, throwing these executive orders here and there, talking about big government controlling, yet he is big government controlling us.
Exactly.
And it's very much, I'm hoping that a lot of people who have been in the center or been on the fence or been, moderate of right, they're taking notice that something's not right here. This is not normal. And I'm so tired of hearing like it's a both sides like issue. It's like, it's both sides. No. This is now a human rights issue. That's an everybody issue.
Exactly.
Because regardless if you're Republican or Democrat, we're all powerless. We're all on the same sinking ship right now. And a lot of people don't realize that.
Liz, yes, exactly. And like we said before the show, they are trying to suppress the vote, because if we had those 7 million people voting, we would, like you said, we would have a blue state. It's not that Texas is a red state. Texas is a non-voting state. And if we were to activate these people to go vote, then we wouldn't even be dealing with this stuff. And it just goes to show how corrupt the Republicans are, because they have nothing to run on. They have no policies that excite their base. It's just they fearmonger people. That is how Republicans rule. They rule through fear. They be afraid of the immigrants, be afraid of the black man, be afraid of the Hispanics, be afraid of the woman. That is just their messaging. They want you to fear everything. It just, they don't have any great policies, and they try to, we're gonna govern like this mythical era that we had that was so great, but it was never great for everyone. It was only great for white males. It wasn't great for black men. It wasn't great for women, Hispanics. It just, they try to go back to this. They try to fearmonger about an era. They try to fearmonger. It's just, that's all it is. It's just fearmongering their base into fearing change, because ultimately, we need this change. It's just the way that our system is going. We cannot continue this. It just can't continue, because look at some of the things we have going on here in Texas. Like, Greg, that bill that he passed, making it basically Wild Wild West, banning different gender kids in certain sports. I know that goes into a whole thing, but instead of addressing it right, or trying to come up with a detailed plan to talk about that, you just try and throw the book at stuff instead of doing these nuanced ways to try and fix our problems.
We have a interesting question in the chat, in a lot of chats. Miss Demetria Smith says, "What clause in the what clause? No, wait, let me find it. It moved. Give me a minute. Yeah, it says, what clause suppresses the vote?" So she says she read the bill. What clause in the bill suppresses the vote?
Okay.
I see okay, and I want to kind of address some of this stuff too. So go ahead, Liz.
Oh no, she wants to know the clause. It's like, okay, I'll bring up the bill section by section, and we can debate it. Let's see.
So I'm
impressed if she actually read the bill. Like, most people don't actually take the time to do that. I'm very impressed that she actually took the time to do it, because I think if she actually did, she would have seen that we had to fight for a lot of different amendments just to try to even keep. I'm not even sure if curbside still stayed in, or if it was out curbside voting.
I think they got rid of curbside voting.
Yeah, it suppresses people. You can't use your student ID, and to be able to go to school, you need to prove who you are with an ID already, with a state issued license or state issued ID, your birth certificate, your school records, everything, that your social security, all of that. But somehow taking a permit from owning a gun, in which you didn't even have to go through that much scrutiny to get into the school. It takes more scrutiny to get into school than it does to get a gun. And yeah, and so you can't use that. That's how it suppresses people, because it is literally targeting students. So that's one example of it, of doing it. And I guess if you were listening earlier, I mentioned about you have a lot of elderly people, like my mom. She's 74. She's got mobility issues. She's partially blind. I have to help her. I always take an oath, and I'm her eyes, and I guide her. And now I'm not going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have somebody who has absolutely no training, who can just claim to be a voter, just walking in with absolutely no idea how polling places work, leaning over my shoulder and trying to accuse me of voter fraud by helping my elderly disabled mother figure out how to work the machine.
Yeah.
So that's to me, that seems a little suppressive. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, what were you gonna say about it?
Yeah, like it's a lot. I mean.
Well, one of the things I was gonna say, Miss Demetria she brought up, the Democrats being what she talked about, what she said. She said, Jim Crow was instituted by the Democrats. Yes, that is true, but a lot of people they fail to realize that the party switched in the 1960s with LGB, with LG, with LG, was it LBJ?
LBJ.
Yeah, LBJ. He was the first Democratic president to kind of do that switch, and LBJ helped institute the Civil Rights Voting Act, and so I don't know why, but people always forget that.
Yeah.
And so and another thing I want to add, I've looked at the bill. I've done some research into it. I've done even some videos on it, and people are more than welcome to check them out and go look at them. It's just some of the things that the Republicans try doing in this bill is, to me, a little crazy. Like, you can't give out water to people in line, and to me, I don't understand that. Why would you stop that? Why would you stop curbside voting? Why would you make it harder for people to vote? That is the one thing I want to know. Why are Republicans trying to make it harder for people to vote? It's 2020. Things are going to change.
That's really interesting. You like, that's really interesting because I mean it was instituted by the Democrats, and there was a party change. It was called the Southern Strategy.
Exactly.
And what the Southern Strategy did was, because you couldn't outwardly, after LBJ signed the Civil Rights Act, you couldn't outwardly just target people by their races, or make them pay poll taxes outwardly. But what you could do is reword the language of the policies that you're instituting. So if you're not going after, people of color, you're going after certain statistics about their community, different demographics about their community, and you target those and you restrict those aspects, especially, poor people have felt the front end of that for the last 50 some years now, especially during Reagan's administration. There was Lee Atwater. He was probably the most brilliant at that. And there's a even recording you can look up on YouTube, and he was he's like somebody Tucker Carlson looks up to. Let's just say that. So you can look up this video where he gets caught saying, it's like, you can't outwardly say these crude language, but as long as you construct the wording in the bill somewhat abstractly and convoluted, then you can't say it's racism, because it's about fiscal conservatism. It's about taxes, reduced government, and states' rights. That's what you focus it on, because you're not outwardly, being that way. But it's like, for some reason, why would, like you said, why would you make it illegal to pass out water in lines? Oh, it's because in the poor communities, which happen to be urban and POC, a lot of polling places have shut down.
Yeah.
In which case, you have a population of 1 million people trying to get to between 2 and 3 polling places on election day. You're going to have some lines, and they know that there's going to be lines, and people will wait in those lines if they're determined enough. If we're upset enough and we're angry enough with our leaders, we will go wait in those lines for a whole day if we have to.
Yeah.
But let's make it miserable, though. Let's try to make it to the point where it's unbearable for them to wait 7-9 hours in line. And that's the whole point of the bill. And that's what the Southern strategy is. That's what, that's basically what the transition from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party happened. It was really under Nixon that really, I think became very popularized as an idea. Sorry. But yeah, like that's why I think they do it, because it's clearly just ridiculous language, something like why would you be upset about somebody getting water? How's the water going to go inflict voter fraud? I would like to understand that. Like
right. Why would
why
would that why would you try and make that illegal? It's just because, once again, the Republicans are trying to. I mean, if their voters are that easily persuaded by getting water, then what's wrong with you as a party?
Yeah, like what a dying ideology. It's just not working anymore. And the only reason why they're able to get away with this is through fear mongering.
Yeah, Ms. Demetrius Smith, you cannot give water. I've read that personally within the bill. You cannot give water. I read that. It is illegal. So, and
that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like once Georgia passed their laws, that set the precedent for us to be able to pass it. And that's why it was so dangerous for Georgia to pass that law, because now you have a state that can legally come to court and say, well, they did it, so why can't we?
Yeah.
And
not to mention the election poll watchers. You can have somebody literally be right behind your back watching you, trying to intimidate you.
No
How's
training.
that constitutional?
No training. No training. And there was a lot of fighting for that. I mean, if there has been training added to it, like pointed out to me, I would love to know that there was at least some training, because anybody who's ever worked a poll knows that you have to put some hours of training and have at least an idea of how an election works. Because sometimes I wonder if the naysayers even have been voting before. Like, do you know how the polls work? Like they say, oh, the Democrats don't want ID. We do want ID. That's not a problem. The problem is using your gun permit. You can't use your student ID.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Poll watchers with guns is the problem, because this is 2021, not 1856. We are not at the Alamo. It is not time to draw a line in the sand. It's getting kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. So Liz, talk to us about the importance of getting young people out to vote.
It's most important because they're the ones that are going to clean up this mess. I'm sorry, we're leaving a big mess. I'm not going to candy coat it. I mean, look at what's happened recently in the news with Afghanistan and all that. That's a mess that our generation has really felt heavy effects of, the millennials. Yeah, exactly. That's weighing really heavy, because how many of your friends went to Afghanistan? How many came back? How many didn't come back? How many came back, but they hurt themselves somehow? How many just never became the same person again? What was the cost, really? You know what I mean? And it's not just a dollar sign is attached to it. It's that human aspect of it, and that is that is a huge mess. I don't see us taking care of soon, but it's the youth that have to take care of that, and we need to provide them the tools to be able to make a better world. If we couldn't at least do it for them, we can at least try to clean up some of it and give them those tools so they can make it the better world for their kids. Exactly. And so on. We're seeing the effects of climate change, and that's really scary. That's really scary to think about. Like, we're never going to have summers like it used to be 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So how is it going to be 10 years from now and 10 years from after that? Who is going to end up inheriting all of this? the youth.
Exactly.
And they have to care the most, because if they want to survive, because now it's a matter of survival, they need to be able to go out there and have power and have a voice and be at the polls and speak up and fight against injustices and fight for climate change and fight for our human rights, such as voting.
Yeah. And a grid. I mean, hell, we need to fight for a working grid. I don't understand why the Republican mindset is so thrown off. Instead of worrying about bettering the grid, improving the grid, after we had rolling blackouts during the summer, we had the grid completely shut down, during the winter. So why is that not the main focus? That needs to be the main focus. The hosts have not read the bill. Look, Miss Demetria Smith, when you came on the show, we let you talk. Let us do our show, ma'am. We are not misleading people. We are not trying to cheat. You are just completely in the wrong right now. I think you're a great person, but you're just in the wrong right now. And so we're just gonna leave you at that. So anyway, we don't have time. We don't have time.
I can't see any of that. I wish I could. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it just don't even worry about it. So
well,
anyway.
it's like, well, I mean, it's right there, plain writing. You just do a Google search, SB1 Texas Ledge 2021 special session.
They would not be trying to get all of this. They would not be trying to do voter suppression if it wasn't real. I mean, that's just the facts. They are trying to limit people access to vote, limit who votes, because they are a dying party. And like you said, Liz, they are an animal backed up in the corner, afraid, scared, and dying. And that's what ultimately was going to happen. The Republican Party is going to die. It just is. You want to give tax cuts to the rich and keep brown and black folks down. That is not going to happen. That is not going to happen. That is never going to happen.
Yeah, it's not. And if there's anything so-called as out organizing, we're gonna figure it out.
Yeah,
we're gonna figure it out, and it's gonna happen. And like I said, like you said earlier, if there's 7 million people actually voted, we would be a blue state. And I mean, whether naysayers and critics want to say anything, I mean, I do genuinely care about their rights too.
Yeah,
I'm fighting for their rights as well. Even the people that they might not realize it yet. Hopefully they might wake up soon. Hopefully they wake up soon and realize they're not the ones getting the tax cuts. The tax burden is on them, on the working class.
Yes.
It's on us. We're paying for our own infrastructure, but we still can't even get our own tax dollars to go towards our own infrastructure, like the electrical grid. And it's, to me, it just seems you do have to ask, why isn't the focus on the most important thing, like the electrical grid? Money. Accountability. He would go down as saying, oh, the grid failed under me. He would be a failed governor. And what he doesn't realize is that the way he has been behaving is making him a failed governor. The way he has treated his entire terms as his governor of the state of Texas is going to prove itself, because we don't care about that. I mean, it's like unless it affects him personally or his rich, crony friends, that's the only way we're going to have anybody pay attention to what's going on. Yeah. I mean, if you remember here in Houston during the freeze, we had huge buildings with electricity, yet the neighborhoods around it had no electricity, where people were freezing to death.
Empty. We had empty buildings.
Empty buildings, which were nice and warm and comfy, but they couldn't allow, they had to have the power in those buildings. They couldn't subvert that power over to the neighborhoods. Why not? And who's being held accountable for that? Who? Who do we hold accountable for that?
Nobody.
Do we hold ourselves accountable? we're the ones that have not voted. We're the ones not caring enough to go out and vote. We're the ones not like telling kids, hey, this is important. You need to give a damn. You can't take it for granted, because as soon as you do, you lose it. You lose it. You have these cronies that come in. You've got the billionaires and the millionaires. And like I said, it's small business owners. I mean, and they're Republican. A lot of them are Republican. And and I understand that the taxes are really harsh on small business owners, and it doesn't have to be that way. Don't they realize if they pushed their politicians, their representatives, hey, I'm putting too much of the tax burden. Meanwhile, this guy earns way more money than I do, is paying significantly less than me. Why is that?
Yeah.
They need
you
to
know
start.
what?
Why is that?
Yeah, so you asked that question, who do we hold accountable for it? And then I heard you say, if we're not doing our part, then if we're not doing our part, then we are accountable for it. Because if we do our part and spread the word, get the people involved and politically involved in the voting process, then we could potentially not face these issues that we have. It's such a large amount of people that's not even registered to vote, and like you said, those who a larger amount that is registered to vote, um, still didn't vote. So we need to come up with solutions as to how to get people engaged, so that because if they're not engaged, then we're all accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the incentives to vote have been reduced greatly, and that's been blasted all over the media. Like, oh well, why should I go vote? Why is just one vote going to make a difference? Well, maybe not one, but we all together, we work together, we all come as a community and actually extend and reach a hand out to each other and ask each other, hey, what do you need? This is what I need. This is what we need as a whole. And we need to fight back to maintain our power. And that's what, Powered by People is all about. We're the ones who give power to these politicians. And it's time that they know who's in charge again. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yes,
Us.
absolutely.
And if we can get everyone to the polls, if we can get everyone angry enough to say, hey, this is so un-American, I cannot believe, sorry, my accent is coming through, believe that Greg Abbott is doing what he's doing. It's against their own interests, their own ideals, essentially, because they're not all bad people. And it's just so unfortunate that this cult of personality has taken over. And I don't know what's left of the Republican Party. Is there any aspect of it left that's decent? Or has everybody who's just disagreed with Trumpism in any form whatsoever, immediately an enemy?
That's how it seems.
Yeah, like it seems like if you just say, oh, I don't like this, immediately you're an enemy. Look what they did to Liz Cheney. She voted like 90% of the time with Donald Trump. She perpetuated and helped make this happen.
Exactly.
And so now she's been kicked out because she disagreed with one thing. And that's not the egalitarian values. And I see a lot of Americans who do identify as Republican and still do identify as Republican hold to themselves, because it's a lot to take in, I guess. You know what I mean? To wrap your head around, oh my God, I can't believe this level of corruption is happening right before my eyes, and I haven't paid attention to it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's no real fault of them. They have really good American values. It's just that
yeah, exactly.
the crazy just kind of overtook everything else. Yeah. That's how I kind of see it.
Well, it's not only that crazy overtook it, but people were disenfranchised with politics. People felt like politics didn't necessarily affect them. And so, people stopped being active in politics. And so, but now we have, we have a younger generation that's more involved in politics, but you don't necessarily see them. And so one of the things that I think, it is super important that we get people knowledgeable about what's going on with voter suppression and what's going on and how their rights are being attacked. But also with that aspect, we have to also do politicians have to run on things that's going to motivate people, not only young people, but everybody to the polls. The working class to the polls, the young working people to the polls, even the middle-aged people, because they want a better future for their kids. And so politicians have to focus on policy. How are people's tax dollars going to work best for them? That needs to be every politician's, like, that needs to be the method behind their campaigns, because that is the only way that you're going to get more people headed to the polls, like affecting and changing their lives.
Yeah, turn off Fox News and go follow every single penny that's not accounted for or seems suspicious about where is it going, why is it going to this person, what policy is affording them this luxury to basically live off of the taxpayers.
Yes.
And somehow rule over us like lords. That's where we're at now. It's ridiculous to see like the kind of backwards aspect that it is so un-American. It's so un-American. That's not what what we were raised on. That's so very much against our mythos as Americans and Texans, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's just so underhanded, it's undemocratic, and it's not transparent. And it literally is taxation without representation, if you think about it. Where's my tax dollar going? To you? Are you representing me the proper way? Are you actually representing me? Who are you representing?
Yes.
Because I do know that corporations also count as people.
Exactly. And that is the complete most insane thing our government has ever done, overruling Citizens United, or having Citizens United. Corporations are people, dollars equal speech. I mean, these are just things that corporations, this is how our government is more ran like an oligarchy. It's levied to the few at the top, governing for the masses, and it's just horrible. Like, these corporations make our bills. They fund our bill. They make our bills through campaign donations to politicians saying, "Don't put this in the bill. Take this out of the bill." And it just shows how disconnected our whole entire country is.
Yeah, it shows that we need to reclaim that power and to do it in mass, because the youth outnumber every other population, age population. And there's one way you can get involved, and I want to say it's through Powered by Youth. It is an adjunct of Powered by People's Powered by People Ambassador Program. Mm-hmm. And if you go to poweredbypeople.org, you can take a look at what we offer and go to our Facebook and look for Powered by Youth. So if you're young, if you're in high school, about to graduate, if you're in college, just graduating college, please look us up, because we will definitely help you find a way we'll find a way to get you working towards a better, bluer Texas. We can help you with your frustration if you're frustrated right now. It's down. It's really disheartening to hear the news. It's disheartening here in Texas. And the only way to combat that is through action. Beto says that. The only way to cure that horrible feeling that you helplessness is through action. Get up and do something about it. How determined are you to change the future 10 years from now? Do you want to be dealing with this situation in the worst way 20 years from now? Or do you want to deal with it while you're young? And there's a way for us to better supply you with the tools that you need to make a better future. And that's why it's so important for kids to just really care. This is yours. very, very soon. Enjoy your
Exactly. So Liz, I have one more question. And so what steps do we have to take to counter voter suppression?
Voting is the number one thing you can do. Number one, no, register to vote if you're not registered. If you moved, Texas is very difficult to register to vote. Luckily, recently we won that Supreme Court ruling that says that when you renew your license online, so at some point in the future, you would be able to register to vote online. So that's a win. That's one way you can do it. Even when you go to the DMV to change your address or renew your license in person or ID, make sure you check that box, because if you do not check that box that you want to register to vote, you will not be registered. A lot of people think that it's automatic. We don't have automatic. That's one way we have voter suppression in Texas, is that we refuse to have automatic voter registration. And through finding VDRs like me and all the 1,000 other ambassadors through Powered by People's ambassador program, because we take a course and we are sworn in as deputy voter registrars. And we are able to register everyone who is unregistered, who's a qualified eligible voter. Remember, you have to be qualified and an eligible voter to be able to register. And we make sure we double check that. We take that directly to the clerk. And if you ever have a question about our authenticity or who we are, you can always call up the state. You can always call the local county elections administration, and they'll validate everything. So it's very transparent, everything that you do. And the third way is through mail-in. And that is it. Those are the only 3 ways that you can register to vote. So number 1, get registered to vote. Number 2, show up to the polls. Hold your electorates accountable. And I think one of the reasons why we're having such a hard time giving a damn about voting is that we don't have very many politicians who are coming down to speak to us. I've never met Mike Schofield. He's my representative. I don't know if he's yours, but I've never met him.
Yeah,
you know who I have met? I met Gina Kalani. She was the previous one. You know who I have met? Chase West, and he's running
exactly
for 132. I've met them, and I know that I can approach them and hold them accountable. That's the difference. When was the last time we held these people accountable? And they need to come and talk to us. They need to come and get in our faces. They need to go knock on doors, and they need to ask what the community needs and wants. And we need to yell and scream, and we need to get into their face. Well, not literally, but we need to write notes. We need to protest. We need to march, and we need to show up at their offices and tell them, we are here, we're present, and we're going to hold you accountable eventually. I don't care how much you get, but eventually you'll break.
Hey, Liz, you said we need to get in their face. I mean, if that's what it takes.
If that's what it takes,
we need to get in their face, because the thing about the candidates, and even those who are already in office, but mainly for the candidates, you have to give people something to vote for. Like GM was saying, policy. If you're not giving people to vote for, even if we go out there and talk to people until we're blue in the face and get everybody in the world registered to vote, they still got to have something to vote for, something that's worth their time to drive into the polls. Exactly.
Yeah.
So if there's nothing, then I mean, we at that point we would have done our part. So at that point, yeah, we would totally have to hold them accountable, because if you're not giving anyone something to vote for in any reason, they're not going to vote. They're not going to go to the polls.
Exactly. That's another part of why people don't care. Like, when was the last time they saw their representative? When was the last time you ever saw Ted Cruz or John Cornyn
on TV?
On TV.
Have you ever met them?
No.
But think about the ones that you have met, and the impressions that gave to you, the inspiration that gave you, and the heart and hope that it gave you to move forward and to know, like, I'm on the right path. Yeah. That's all we need. from them. It's the bare minimum they can do.
Exactly.
Bare minimum.
It makes you feel like that person, that candidate is a real person. You know, they can understand. You can relate to them. Um, you know, I don't like not knowing the person that's that's in office over me or whatever. I feel more leveled headed about it if I know the person or if I can meet the person or even if someone that I know can go and talk to the person. It don't even have to be me, but someone, people need to be able to relate to these candidates and to these politicians because if not, like I said before, uh, they won't have a reason to do anything, to go vote, none of that, to not even feel like they need to participate in voting. And this whole thing about like about people feeling like their votes don't matter, that's something that has been building up for years. That's not something new. That's not, I mean, when I was a kid, that I was hearing that being said all through my years of growing up. So, but now we have a different breed of people because we have young people now that is getting politically involved and engaged, and so that's why we have to really just put the pressure on these candidates to make sure that they are doing their due diligence and getting to know people.
Yeah, because if they're like, they don't give a damn, why should I give a damn?
Yeah.
You're not knocking on my door. You're not talking to me and asking me what's important to me. Why should I care? I guess it doesn't, like participation doesn't care. They don't care. And like you were brought up an oligarchy, maybe this is the point. They don't want people to care. That is the easiest way to placate people is through apathy and indifference.
Yes. Yes.
And if people are like that, then well, I mean, we're screwed.
Yeah, exactly.
If we don't wake up. Because you're going to wake up one day and everything around you is going to look completely different than it was 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. It already looks so, oh my God, like everything looks so different now than just 2 years.
Yeah.
That's a lot for us to take in.
Yeah, not only 2 years, hell, 4 years. I mean, just yeah, shoot.
Not over yet.
Yeah, it's really not. We have so much stuff that we're really trying to fight for. And so I want to read some of these comments. Amari said voter education. I think he was referring to what some of the things that we can do to counter voter suppression. Derek Smith, he asked, will he hear from the podcast throughout my year at school? Yes, Derek. Yes, I will.
Derek, we're not going nowhere, buddy.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna be in Boston at Harvard. Yeah, no matter what, I'm gonna still do the show. It might not be as often, but I will still. I'm very committed to this. This is part of my activism work, and I like putting, I like spotlighting people, and especially spotlighting people who's working hard within the community to really make effective change, and voters, getting people out to vote, getting people registered to vote, that is super important, especially the climate that we have here in Texas. And I if any politician is listening, I'm gonna give y'all some free game right now. All of your campaigns need to have a aspect of registering people to vote, no matter what. It's crazy to host and hold events and you're not registering people to vote or asking about registering people to vote. So that's just some free game, throw that out there.
I know, like, if they knew the process themselves, if they got down and talked to people and actually knew what's going on, they might think differently of it. Maybe they might actually start to give more of a damn about their office too.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just completely jaded by everything for some, they've lost their inspiration. We'll get back your inspiration.
Yeah.
Go out and talk to us. We're come down to the masses.
Exactly. I think politicians sometimes once they get in the office, they get around all the DC insiders and all of the people in the establishment, and they lose touch. That's why it's very important. That's why I love when I see candidates working with the local orgs, advocating with them, hosting certain events, because it shows that your face is still, even though you're in office, you're still being held accountable by the community, and that's exactly what we need.
Yeah, and the only way we can hold them the most accountable is through our voice at the poll. Exactly. We fought a revolution for that. We fought 2 here in Texas, because you never find more patriotic people than Texans. We're more American than American. Yes. And that is something we hold very dear, and that's something that every Texan needs to feel in themselves, because if we can't create that wonderful ideology that we've held in our mind for so long, since we were kids, then what good was it? Exactly. What was the worth of all this? What was the point of going through that? I mean, it's possible. I think that the ideas are fantastic. We have the shining city on a hill. That always inspired me. Yeah. I know that hill was covered in blood, but we can fix that. We have the future to look forward to correct those mistakes. Why continue to hold on to something that's failed? I mean, we were still acting like it's the Wild West and it's manifest destiny. We can't go any further west. Yeah. It's time to stop a little bit and start actually taking care of people.
Yes.
We're the ones that are holding this nation together. And if we all just stood up and said, hey, hold on a second. Where is my tax dollars going to? Why is it going towards wasting and fruitless endeavors overseas that will not come back and will end up just costing more on society? Where is my money going? If we all just stood up and said, hey, who are you to do this with us, with our lives, with our power, and our money? They won't, like, I know it sounds so cheesy, but they don't have a job if it wasn't for us.
Exactly.
And when we really take that to heart, you realize, like, yeah, you know what? You start to develop a little bit more power within yourself, and you start to assert yourself. Because I got fed up as soon as I saw Trump coming down that escalator. It's like, that's it.
That's it. I'm putting on my work boots. I'm getting out there. And
that's it. I'm out. It's like way too silly. So we
had a couple more comments if you want to read them.
Okay. We got Leia from Leia Snowball. She said, I think people don't realize their power. We have to galvanize our power as a people to make change and hold everyone accountable. And I totally agree. People don't understand their power, and that is super important. And once people realize, like, we have power, and once we start organizing and bringing people together, that we have, a lot of power, that is when we will get the most change. That's when we will impact the most change. That's when we will see the most change. And so it's very important for people to realize the power that they have. Another question from Derek Smith. He said, Gian, please consider a show with seasoned and new activists to encourage folks to get off the couch. Ask the new people what got them off the couch to inspire more new people. Some of the young people I plugged in this weekend are hungry. They are not out there altogether. Let's all get them out there. Okay, yeah. And we do have a show coming with some more seasoned activists. We're going to definitely get them on the show. We're in talks with some really good seasoned people. And we are looking for old activists, young activists, anybody out there to come on the show and, tell them what you're doing. Tell them what the fight that you're doing in your community to see change. We definitely want to put a highlight on people like that.
Absolutely.
I always enjoy your show. It's I'm always
Thank you, Liz.
I always agree. I was like, yeah, that's true. That's right. Right on.
So, Liz, your contact info is going to be down in the description. Is there any Archie? Is there anything you want to ask, man? You want to ask Miss Townsend?
I'm just kind of still looking at these the comments that's coming through.
Yeah, man. It was
I know we
crazy in there.
address all. We try to address all of them as we can, all the ones we can address. But no, Liz, I don't have any more questions.
Well, let
for
y'all
you.
know that I will be doing registrations on the 21st over at Katy Market downtown, and I got to plug that.
Mm-hmm.
So come join Powered by People. Come check us out and contribute to the local community. Buy local. That's always a fantastic thing to do. Get out, enjoy some sun, get some air, register to vote. And then on the 4th, I will be at the Tomball Farmers Market on September 4th. So there's also plenty of other opportunities with Powered by People. If you go to poweredbypeople.org and go to events, you can also become a VDR if you go to there, and it tells you exactly what you can do to become a VDR, because that's one way to combat it, is getting certification as a deputy voter registrar. That's really important. I can't believe I didn't say that earlier. Like, that's another big important thing. You can become a registrar, and you can go out in the community and educate and get people enthusiastic, give them incentive. And that's what I like about what I'm doing.
Yes. And just a little plug for myself. That's actually how I met Liz. I met Liz through a event that I hosted with my organization, POP, which is Protest Organize and Participate. And Liz helped me to host my first event, and we had a really good showing, and a lot of great things have came about that event. And I got to meet Liz and so many other great activists and people working hard to get people registered to vote and help flip Texas blue. So it's just a wonderful thing what y'all are doing and how y'all are working with other orgs in the local area. And I look forward to working with you some more, Liz.
Awesome. Oh, also a book club meeting this Wednesday with Forget the Alamo, Powered by People book club that I started. So you can find us on Facebook on our Powered by People volunteer page.
Okay, definitely. We're gonna have all of that info in the description, so everybody can definitely check it out. Check out Liz. Check out Powered by the People. Check out Pop. Check out Raw Take. Share this video, guys. People need to hear about this stuff. People need to hear about what's going on, and help us get to 1,000 subs. It's super important.
Yeah, and testify. Go testify. Anybody can go testify in Austin. Do not let that intimidate you. Don't ever let them intimidate you. I know it's kind of scary when you go up there and you got senators and representatives up on this dais, but remember, they work for you.
Exactly.
They need to listen to you.
Exactly. So everyone, that's our show. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any uploads. Also, you can find us anywhere where you can listen to podcasts. This is Raw Take. This is the Monday live stream. Thank y'all for watching. Y'all have a blessed day.
Bye. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
No problem, Liz.
Thanks.